Good morning, my dear students. In this video, I would like to continue my discussion on the topic Dhakshayani Velayudhan, a biographic sketch. In my first video on this topic, I discussed the first paragraph from this essay. We mentioned some of the incidents that happened in Kerala during the time when she was born. I would like to continue with this discussion. Now, I would like to read that paragraph that starts from the side heading Dhakshayani writes, and I'll discuss that section, and in the next videos I'll be discussing the remaining parts of this essay. Now take a look at this topic. Dhakshayani writes. This is a side heading. Now let's look at the discussion points. Dhakshayani writes, I can't say that I was born in a poor Pulaya family, as the family was not poor at the time of my birth. Unlike other Pulaya families in Cochin state, we had a house of our own and a compound of more than 1 acre with coconut and other fruit trees. This part of the essay is written in the form of Dhakshayani herself talking about her own life. We understand that Dhakshayani was not born into a poor family. She had some land as property and she had some income. Her family had some income from that land. Coconut and other fruit trees, that's what we mentioned. The family could live with the income from selling coconuts. My father was a village school teacher to teach some children. Our house was the school. He used to go for contract work of buns with the other male members of the family. My 2 elder brothers were the first in the community to crop their long knotted hair and wear shirts. When they were on the road, people from other communities would hoot at them. When on the country board, people would throw stones at them because they wore upper caste clothes. That is mostly Latin Christians and Iravas. Soon our house was mortgaged. So in this part, I'll continue with this, but let's look at some of the important points that we mentioned here. Though she was born into Pulaya community, which was considered as lower caste at that time, she was not born into a poor family. She explains that her father had some property, that is, he had 1 acre of land with coconut and other fruit trees, and they were able to manage, or they were able to generate income with that coconut trees. By selling coconuts, they were able to live. And he's a school teacher, that is, he used to teach children from his village. His house was the school. Okay, so he was able to live a comparatively a good life. And also she talks about some of the practices. She gives some idea about the way our social structure was built. She says that her younger brothers, they were the first to wear clothes, shirts, and they were the first to cut their hair short. Look at this. This shows that how our society restricted the people from these castes. They did not have the right to wear the dress that they wanted to. As we have already said, we mentioned Kallumala struggle and the clothes that they were allowed to wear. So these people, that is, people from her family, Dhakshayani's younger brothers, were ready to make some changes. They wore clothes and they cut their hair short. As a result, they had to experience some opposition from the society. She says that, when they travel on the road, people would hoot at them, and then when they travel in boats, they would throw stones at them. Because, as we said, it is very difficult for the societies to accept when there is some change happening. So these are some of the changes that were happening So we got some idea about her family. She was not born into a poor family. Her father was a school teacher and he also worked as a contractor, and they had property of land, 1 acre of land with coconut and other fruit trees. And her brothers, they were ready to wear clothes and they wore shirts, and when they travel on road, people would hoot at them, and when they travel on boat, people would throw stones at them. This is something that we need to notice, how people suffered because of their efforts to make some changes in our society. Then she explains some of the incidents that happened when they decided to organize Pulaya Mahajana Sabha. It was formed by her relatives. Her elder brothers were actively involved in that, and Krishnedi, her uncle, and also Pandit Karupan were also other members who actively involved in the formation of Pulaya Mahajana Sabha, one of the early organizations among the Pulaya community. Well, you need to remember that when they formed such an organization, the Maharaja, Cochin Maharaja, was not ready to allow them to organize meetings in his land. So they managed to conduct meetings on boats, and we find that it was not held in land but in water. I mean, in the boat, and they managed to organize such meetings. Well, and also there is another incident we need to understand, or it is mentioned in that text, that is a festival, an exhibition that was organized in Ernakulam at that time. We find that though the agricultural exhibition was organized, we find that the Pulayas were not allowed to enter there. And her brothers, they write poems and they conveyed this issue in the form of poetry, and later the Maharaja agreed to give consent to them. That's how they managed to enter that exhibition hall. Remember, the agricultural products were made by the Pulayas. They work in the field, but they don't have access to public occasions, or they don't have the right to enter all these public places. So this is an incident that also shows some of the discriminations that prevailed in our society at that time. We will discuss in the remaining paragraphs what all struggles that she underwent and how she managed to reach certain heights in her life.